WB is allergic to money. How many potential amazing games died for this? How many amazing projects has Warner Bros. Themselves shot down because they didn't think it'd make money when in reality it's the coolest fucking shit ever? The Jack Black Minecraft movie over Spider-Verse Batman Beyond. Gotham Knights over a Damian Wayne post-Arkham Batman Beyond game. So this is the post-Arkham game we get over that or a Rocksteady Superman game. We are reaching Ubisoft levels of incompetence. What is going on in those board meetings for you to make these decisions? How could you see this 10-year developed slop shut down in a year? Meanwhile, your VR Batman game wins fucking awards and then say shit like you're doubling down on live service. It is fucking maddening. And sure, Rocksteady is rumored to be making a new Batman game after this trash, but who's making it? Is it this Rocksteady? Or this Rocksteady? Founded in 2004 by Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill, the original Rocksteady was a fairly small and unknown studio for the first 5 years or so, with their most notable achievement being that their name sounded like the people that make GTA. At least that's what 10-year-old me thought. They'd received heavy investments by Eidos, which led to them having a dedicated publisher and funding to launch their first game in 2006, Urban Chaos. Ooh. It did not take off considering that that's how I responded to the game. Doing decently enough critically and commercially so that when Eidos got the rights to a Batman game in 2007, they approached Rocksteady because somehow they saw this and thought, Batman.
Do not, I repeat, do not use lethal force.
You know, considering Batman's non-lethal tactics, this is starting to make sense. But with the power of hindsight, their madness was actually genius and blessed them for it. As the game entered full production later that year with a 60-person development team, one of which working on the animations for the cape for 2 fucking years. The game took 2 years to develop. That's literally all they did. Per respect to your craft, it did look really good. As well as legendary Batman animated series writer Paul Dini joining the team to write the story, and the voices of Batman and Joker joining him to voice their 2 characters, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. And with that team assembled, the studio would be hard at work on the game for the next 21 months, roughly 70 months shorter than Suicide Squad, going through many changes story-wise and gameplay-wise in that time frame, like the gameplay switching to the iconic flow combat we all know and love, but was initially being pitched as a rhythm game, fucking Guitar Hero style. How did Eidos give them the rights to this game? But in the end, it worked out amazingly, as on August 25th, 2009, Batman Arkham Asylum released to both critical and commercial success, Game of the Year awards, and even being considered by most as the greatest superhero game of all time, which might sound impressive, but you have to remember, this was 2009. Superhero games before Asylum looked like this, and it was deserved as the game genuinely was that good, and to this day I still think had the best atmosphere in the entire franchise. The only criticism you could really give it is too many fucking Titan fights, my god. But with the success of Arkham Asylum, it launched Rocksteady into superstardom as the sequel to the game was immediately ordered and released in 2011, having already begun development before Asylum's release, as evident by the blueprint Easter egg in that game. And City was even better than Asylum and widely considered one of the greatest video game sequels of all time, arguably the peak of not only Rocksteady, but the series as a whole, making them so big that WB began to sniff the cash and try to milk the IP for all it's worth, pushing out Origins in 2 years in October of 2013, not made by Rocksteady, but WB Montreal using City's assets. That's how much of a moneymaker the series was becoming that WB wanted this shit out every 2 years. With the game being great again, but considered by many to be an overall downgrade from City. Me personally though, I think it's overhated, but yeah, City's better. But that would change as in 2015, Rocksteady returned to the Arkham series one final time for their swan song with Batman Arkham Knight, which again was a fantastic and highly praised game, although did suffer from a decent amount of criticism, both story-wise and gameplay-wise, with the Batmobile and lackluster bosses, but especially for the abysmal PC port from Iron Galaxy, so much so that the game had to be taken down for nearly half a year in order to be patched. And 7 years later, Sony saw that and decided to task the same team with the Last of Us PC port. Surprise, surprise, it was awful too and did this to my computer. But despite the issues and minor fallout from their arguable peak in 2011 with Arkham City, Rocksteady was still a massive studio with an extremely dedicated fan base, incredibly excited and eagerly anticipating what would come next for the team after concluding the greatest superhero trilogy of all time, because Arkham Origins doesn't exist according to collections. Unfortunately, we'd be eagerly anticipating for a solid portion of our fucking lives. As after 2015's Arkham Knight and his DLCs, there would be radio silence from the team. 1 year went by, then 2 years, then 3 years, a whole console generation, a revolution against loot boxes would take place, live service would take off, battle royales would become the trend, Fortnite would collab with fucking everything as Rocksteady remained radio silent for nearly half a decade, with many assuming them to be working on something incredible. And given their track record and the fact that even after all that time had passed, their last game still held up incredibly well, both gameplay wise and even graphically looking better than games that have launched today. And I mean that with no fucking hyperbole. I don't know how the fuck they did this in 2015, but this can genuinely rival Red Dead 2. And while fans were right to think that, it apparently wasn't the case, as while unconfirmed, Rocksteady would seemingly be undergoing internal stagnation over all these years, as the team had no idea what to do next after Arkham Knight reportedly pitching a Superman game, which was seemingly shot down by Warner Bros, probably because they don't have faith in Superman making money except for when he's evil. So here's a better idea. Make a game where he's the villain. NetherRealm's already doing that, and it sells well. As around 2017, that's how long Rocksteady was in fucking limbo for. They were working on a fucking puzzle game named Project Motherfucking Stones to pass the time. That's how bad shit had gone, and honestly, probably would have been better than what they ended up getting tasked with, as Rocksteady would be tasked by WB with Suicide Squad. Who at WB keeps trying to turn the Suicide Squad into a thing? Stop! A game that had already begun development at some point after 2013 by WB Montreal, meaning that technically, in total, this game took around 11 fucking years to develop. That is half my lifetime. As it was started by Montreal, teased in the post-credits of their previous game with Amanda Waller and Deathstroke. Deathstroke would not appear in the game until 1 month before it was shut down, and Amanda Waller would become skinny and bald and look how Deborah Wilson always looks at anything that she does, good shit. Although due to development issues at Montreal, Warner Bros execs decided to pass the game along to their golden goose Rocksteady, as Montreal was shifted over to Gotham Knights. Both these choices were fucking dreadful, with Rocksteady predicting the game to release at some point in 2019 to 2020. Minor fucking overshoot there, my friend. As due to working for a crack shop publisher, the game will undergo many changes as WB would begin to chase trends and push their zero live service experience studio to make a live service game. This is the equivalent of asking zero NFL experience LeBron James to win the Super Bowl. Not only have they never developed a game like this before, the director himself is said to not have even played competing games like Destiny, so he didn't even know what he was getting into. But they pushed for it anyways, flying to London and presenting their vision for a game to incorporate live service elements to try to cash in on its popularity, incorrectly predicting that it would stay popular for the 7 years it took to develop this fucking game. They would be horribly incorrect. It wouldn't even last half of that. Wonder what was going on at Rocksteady HQ when Avengers bombed like halfway into development. Probably that scene on a SpongeBob. Meanwhile, WB has a video of that cat spinning, eternally playing on their monitors with the fucking decisions that they make. And this shift in genre would result in massive changes to gameplay, going from a melee-centric game that you'd expect to a multiplayer-focused, loot-driven third-person shooter, a change that made no fucking sense considering its cast of characters were a crazy clown with a bat who at most would use a pistol, a land shark who could rip apart and swallow people who uses a gun, and an Australian named Captain Boomerang. What weapon do you think someone named Captain Boomerang would use? You're right, it's a gun. It's in the name, Boomerang. That's a common synonym for 9mm Glock. He uses it like this. A change so baffling and stupid to the point where it was apparently confusing the fucking developers just as much as it confused us. This is a perfect example of what we would call a fucking out of touch publisher when everyone but them have no fucking idea what they're talking about. You know, I'm starting to understand why Montreal is experiencing issues when these are the dumbasses they were developing for. And Rocksteady would suffer the same fate as Montreal, as the game would go through a strenuous development. None of the engineers knowing how to handle the jump from single player to co-op, using short-term fixes to the issues instead of actually figuring it out to meet the immutable 2019-2020 deadline, waiting months for chunks of their work to be reviewed by directors only for it to be rejected or scraps. An entire mechanic that the devs spent months on, a vehicle mechanic with every character having their own vehicle they can modify and drive around Metropolis only for it to be completely scrapped, and massive parts of the horrible story being cut or rewritten. Months of time wasted as morale dropped, but all the higher-ups thought that thing would work out in the last minute, apparently like they had with the previous Arkham games, due to an attitude of toxic positivity. I've seen this before, and it didn't end well the first time. But despite despite all these issues, WB execs loved what they were seeing, loved what Rocksteady was presenting to them, praised the graphics, which looked worse than the game that they had made a decade prior, and expected Suicide Squad to become, this is not a joke, this is not hyperbole, WB expected this game to become a billion with a B dollar franchise. But despite the confusion, controversy, and development issues, Rocksteady pushed forward for the next 3 years until DC Fandom 2020, where finally, after 5 years of waiting, stagnation, and frustration, they would not meet their estimated release date, but they would announce a game to the public for the first time since 2015's Arkham Knight, showing a cinematic reveal trailer of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, introducing the cast of characters, setting, tone, and the entire premise of the story being that Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark are all tasked with killing the Justice League, obviously, who have been brainwashed by Brainiac, and that the game was planned to release at some point in 2022.
Ooh, just a 2-year overshoot, which is 4 years from your initial overshoot.
And initially, there was a lot of excitement for the game, as after nearly half a decade of nothing from a talented studio, it was finally revealed that they had been doing something this whole time. But as the excitement died down and proper cognitive activity that isn't blinded by hype could begin again, many fans began to wonder,
what the fuck?
lots of concern grew with the entire concept of the game, frustration at another evil Superman, our introduction to the Justice League in this universe that had been hyped and teased repeatedly in the other games.
You know, the only thing that's missing is if that freak from Metropolis flew in here. I'd rather take over Gotham than Keystone. At least you can see Batman coming.
Being this, them just being brainwashed villains. Were we actually gonna kill them in our first time seeing them? How is that even possible with this team? How is it even possible for a team of slapdash convicts, half of which Batman in this own universe has fucking one-shotted, except for Deadshot, I guess, because that was the fake white version. This is the real black version. How could this team ever even pose a minor threat to the gods of the DC universe, especially ones that have been brainwashed and aren't holding back? And while this concern was there, it was more underground and mostly just nerd rage, as for the most part during this 2020 initial reveal time period, there was lots of excitement surrounding Rocksteady's next game, faith that they would do it well based on their track record, and no solid evidence that we should be concerned at all with the game itself. And while the concern did grow a bit over the next 2 years, hype was still consistent throughout 2021, with 2 trailers being shown off, one of which being a gameplay trailer. And while it was revealed in early 2022 that the game was delayed by a year, reception around it was still very positive, even with this delay being seen as a good sign that they're taking their time and not rushing it for a quick buck. But by the end of that year, that hope would slowly begin to fade away as the first signs of the impending doom that was began to be revealed, as not one but both of the game's directors and co-founders of Rocksteady left the studio at the same time just before the rumored launch, which is an historically bad sign for a game when the directors try and get the hell out of Dodge of the impending outrage. But fans hadn't completely turned on the game yet, and it was announced that it would be releasing on May 26, 2023, just about 6 months away at that point in time. Although as 2023 would come, this first bad sign would turn into an avalanche of controversy, as public perception of the game would completely shift, going from cautious optimism to genuine outrage seemingly overnight, as in January, this image was leaked showcasing the game's menu screen. And can you notice? Can you spy with your little eye what it was exactly that caused all the outrage? Well, if you zoom just over to the top, beep, beep, beep. This is the exact moment public perception for the game went from generally positive to fucking dread, as everyone knew exactly what we were about to get. That's how tired everyone was of this shit, and rightfully so, as fans are smart and seeing this realized this wasn't gonna be another amazing, carefully crafted and detailed story-driven game that we've seen throughout their history with soul and passion put into every part of it. This was...
Oh no.
This was the Avengers all over again. This was another soulless live service cash-in clearly directed at Rocksteady by WB, and people were fucking over it. And these fears were confirmed as in February 2023 during PlayStation State of Play, the game got a 15-minute presentation dedicated to it, and this killed the game. While the menu screen leaked outraged many, some of the more casual fans likely didn't fully understand the outrage just yet, because everything has a battle pass, even mobile games. Why are we mad? But this entire presentation destroyed perception of this game overnight. You could see the complete shift in the comments of the trailer. None of what made fans originally fall in love with Rocksteady's first games, and it was clear as day just how much of a cash grab this was, even more so than the Avengers, because at least in that game, the characters felt somewhat like themselves. Sure, Spidey had fucking arthritis or something with how slow his ass was swinging, but at least he didn't whip out a Glock and start firing at giant mechs. But here, what the fuck? Nobody is themselves. The originators of the makes you feel like Batman meme, and here you don't feel like Harley or Boomerang or the Suicide Squad. You feel like a fucking idiot for buying this shit. You feel like fucking contemplating suicide instead of playing this shit, so I guess you made us feel like the team in some aspect. Hype for the game plummeted as from this point Rocksteady entered full damage control mode, as in April they delayed the game for a second time from its announced May 2023 release to, quote, get the game to the best quality experience for players, aka
Fuck, they hate it. They fucking hate it. What do we do? Something. Fuck, something left.
And while the first delay, the first go-around, was seen as a generally good sign and them taking their time, delaying the game 6 weeks before launch after getting scathed for your presentation by the internet is not a good look. It looks like you're fucking panicking because you fucking are. But some, probably sniffing too much copium, not gonna lie, I was one of them, hoped and prayed that this delay was to fix the game, remove all the live service elements, turn it into something that everyone knew and loved from Rocksteady, but let's be real here. We all fucking knew deep down that, dog, that's impossible. This shit's been in development for 10 years now. That'd be essentially restarting this shit. It was over, and that was confirmed in November as the first trailer for the game since the delay released. And yeah, it was the same thing. And you'd think this would be the worst of it, gamers hating on everything the game stands for, gameplay-wise and genre-wise, but the story at least being very well received with lots of crazy twists and turns as Rocksteady is known for until December 2023, where they would also begin hating on everything about the story. As just roughly a month before launch, massive leaks occurred revealing major story beats for the game. Like, everything. Poison Ivy returning after having a fantastic sacrifice at night, but now as a 9-year-old that Harley looks at like this. World's fastest man Flash, who could kill every member of this crackshot squad before they even realize that anyone was there. Here's him doing exactly that to Luthor, being killed by the squad as Boomerang warms his cold corpse by pissing on it, followed by everyone complimenting Boomerang's dick size. Green Lantern using his powers of being able to create fucking anything to make little machine guns before dying and getting left in his Green Lantern undies. Wonder Woman, who wasn't brainwashed, getting killed by Superman, and for some reason the squad mourns her when they've previously left 2 other League members in their undies and with a mouthful of piss. Why do they care? The squad getting into the Batcave and seeing Tim was killed off screen. What the fuck was the point of Arkham Knight when he literally became what he feared like 5 years later? So much for locking Joker away in your head. That motherfucker escaped like every other time he got prison time. But who knew Batman's biggest fear of going on a murder rampage and being unstoppable was completely irrational. All he had to do was ask Harley Quinn for a favor, as he was easily defeated by her in the worst boss fight in a game with already dog-ass boss fights.
Seriously, if you're gonna give Batman a fight, could you do it in a fucking lamer way? Not a Predator section where you have to keep your eyes out and counter all the tricks that you yourself have used in 4 games. Nothing fucking interesting like that. You somehow turned Batman into a giant bullet sponge fire demon waiting to be shot at. What is he actually doing outside the fear toxin?
You've only come as far as
Brainiac allows.
criminals. Your fear
Makes you easy prey.
will still fail. You always
Fail.
Defeated by a Boomerang fetished Australian, 2 people that, again, he had one-shotted previously, and a shark. This is what he did to the last shark he encountered. And shot in the head by the mentally insane serial killer Harley Quinn, giving Batman a moral speech about something, how he did more harm than good and gave her trauma. Harley,
You in this own universe have helped Joker kill a kindergarten and stitch their fucking limbs together. What fucking trauma are you talking about?
as his corpse flops off the park bench he was sitting on, with his legs comically being in the frame for the rest of the scene. Somehow, Gotham Knights treated their 3 seconds of screen time Batman, who sounded like RoboCop,
This city is still under my protection.
with more fucking respect than one of the best ones.
Just set it in a different universe and nobody would give a shit. Did anyone care when RoboCop Batman stabbed himself for no reason? No!
With Superman arriving afterwards and now the squad having to kill him, so they go to find the extremely rare yellow kryptonite, but it's okay. Luthor has fucking stockpiles of this shit lying around, so much so that he was able to make thousands of bullets worth of it, with a boss battle occurring after where Superman, if he really wanted to, could just fucking fly out of orbit and satellite beam their asses like the Call of Duty killstreak that he is until they were ashed in the dirt. But instead he stays within shooting range, allowing the squad to shoot to death the person whose nickname is faster than a speeding bullet, shoot that Superman to death. Someone's been debated to be able to beat Goku. The Suicide Squad killed that person. The equivalent of Yajirobe being able to beat Saiyan 2 Goku. I think that's a good comparison. I don't know. I have like 7 hours on Sparking Zero. And fighting Brainiac, who transforms into the Flash. So we fight a recycled version of the Flash boss fight as the final boss of the game because Rocksteady only had a short 7 years to develop this. They couldn't give Brainiac his own boss fight. That'd take too much time. Defeating a multiversal level threat like Brainiac, something the entire fucking league could not do, but a dude with a sniper can. Just wait. This will get even more ridiculous a few seasons later. And then just before the game ends, it being revealed that there are 12 more Brainiacs that they need to kill. Who wrote this shit? This is not real. This better be some fucking edgelord on 4chan. And that was basically everyone's response. No fucking way this is what happens after how amazingly and with how much respect the Arkham series treated all aspects of the character and the source material and the IP. There's no way something this ridiculous is what follows it, but accompanying these leaks were audio files of Batman's death being found and it exactly matching what these leaks said, seemingly confirming that aspect of the leak and likewise giving credibility to everything else and the fact that WB was scrambling to get these leaks scrubbed off the internet. If they weren't real, why would they care? Thus giving these story leaks even more credibility, but what gave them the most credibility was Rocksteady themselves releasing a fucking message urging players to avoid spoilers. These spoilers, no God, please no. But even with all that, there was just no way, no way Rocksteady would make something this fucking ass, this fucking ridiculous, this fucking insulting to the franchise and universe and characters they have spent 10 fucking years making just to push up some fucking loot shooter. Something had to be wrong. There had to be a twist. There was no way this is real.
Notice how I showed in-game footage for all those leaks? This was as real as a heart attack.
But at the time, we wouldn't know, and these leaks only made perception of the game even worse, and perception was already in the fucking toilet. Hate for both the gameplay, genre, and story. You've hit the trifecta. This shit is fucking bombing. Now with the final month ticking away, the game would not be delayed a third time, but launched 2 years late, technically 4 years late, on February 2nd, 2024 and January 30th for pre-orders to scathing fucking reviews. Absolutely everything we were worried about, everything we thought, everything we feared both gameplay-wise, story-wise was true. The story was exactly how the leaks described it, but actually seeing everything with your own eyes and realizing the ridiculous 4chan fanfiction was made real made it even more insulting, seeing how they treated these iconic characters, seeing how they treated the Batman that we had spent an entire trilogy with like a joke was fucking baffling. And sure, there were theories that would turn out to be true that these were clones. See, real Flash got his finger cut off here, evil Flash has all his fingers, but that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change how catastrophically it destroys the Arkhamverse, ruins Batman's entire Arkham Knight, killed off major characters off screen for nothing, and absolutely destroyed our introduction to the Justice League, which had been hyped like crazy. Even with that swerve, it didn't fucking fix how damn insulting this story was, just as much as the gameplay. WB thinking that we would eat up this generic Sunset Overdrive ripoff is fucking insulting. Nothing from the previous games that made them great or made everyone fall in love with them aside from fucking Riddler.
Of all the things you could have brought back from the Arkhamverse, you chose the worst one.
Who was for some reason setting up riddles for the squad because he's insulted that Waller didn't choose him.
Why would Argus choose you for this mission over me?
It should have been me who had a bomb injected into their brain and was forced to follow orders from Deborah Wilson. So because the developers needed collectibles, solve my riddles and get my trophies that I just left lying around there with no puzzles because I'm lazy. Where did you even find the time to plan all these trophies without the aliens or the League instantly vaporizing you? Hello? Do not question Rocksteady's shittily thought out story.
That's such a fucking stupid cop-out for collectibles. Although Riddler is definitely petty enough to do some bullshit like that. Accompanied by the same setup of missions over and over and over and over and over and over, and nothing unique aside from a few admittedly great sections with Batman, but those are few and far between as you grind through a copy and paste of like 5 mission styles, tank battles, capturing shit, destroying purple blocks, collecting tokens off enemies, kill enemies with fucking grenades only. What the fuck? Is this a main story mission or an Arkham challenge map? Genuinely mobile game shit for the entire length. And once you get through it, that's it until season 1 comes out and you have to kill the other 12 Brainiacs. It was actually like, and I over exaggerate a lot, I'm not here. This was fucking trash. Like, actually, I didn't review this game because I'm dumb, but I unfortunately did play it at launch and never went back to the later seasons because it was fucking ass. And seemingly everyone agreed with that, from reviewers to audiences, except for on Steam, where the game was somehow positive for a very long time, although it is mixed now, which is much more rational. And due to the overwhelmingly negative reception, as well as the public perception of the game leading up to release, sales on this billion-dollar franchise were not looking great, as by the end of the week, it was being reported that sales were off to a bad start, and by the end of the month, it was confirmed that the sales were not meeting WB's billion-dollar expectations, and by May 9th, WB stated that they were taking a $200 million loss on the game. And these lackluster sales number can be seen off the game's own fucking player count on Steam charts. Half the peak of what the Avengers game got, and look at where that game ended up. And by the end of the week, the already small 13,000 player base had dropped nearly 50% to around 6,000 and would only go lower and lower as February progressed, while the 9-year-old Batman Arkham Knight would go higher and higher, surpassing the week-old game for the first time on February 11th and will continue to do so for nearly the rest of the fucking year.
Are you catching the signal? This is our way of telling you that this isn't what we want.
As people would play the game, majority probably leaving after the 12th escort mission in a row, but if they brave through it to the end, they'd be met with a non-existent endgame and go back to whatever the fuck else they were doing with their life. Sad and ashamed they wasted their time on this garbage like my ass. Dipping below 10,000 just 4 days after launch, losing over 50% of its players a week after launch, dropping to 1,000 just 2 weeks after launch, and by week 3, being at triple digits. And to celebrate the first month, by the way, only 1 month has gone by, the game would drop to 500 players by the end of the month. But it wasn't over. As I said before, all the leaks were real, and like the leak said, we had 12 more Brainiacs to kill off. So here we go with season 1 to kill the first, or technically second, as they revealed Joker would be returning after becoming a corpse in Arkham City. But this isn't that Joker, thank God, because they ruined Arkham City too. No need to do that when you've already ruined Arkham Knight. This was an Elseworld Joker who received a trailer on March 21st, 2024.
At least buy me dinner first.
Who the fuck is that?
This is what Rocksteady gave us on season 1. This is what Rocksteady dropped to try to win back the 90% of its players they had launched, to quell the outrage about this being live service, comfort us and show us, don't worry,
Everything's gonna be alright. Just don't go. We added the Jonkler from the Arkham subreddit. Please come back.
some fucking Temu Joker. I don't even feel right calling him the Jonkler because that'd be disrespecting my favorite subreddit. This is the Giggler. This is the Cackler. This is fucking garbage. But it worked in affecting the charts, as this announcement took place on March 5th and would result in a loss of 100 more players. But as word spread, the game actually did receive an uptick of players peaking at over 1,000, which would last a day as the game would drop back down to 900 just 24 hours later, and would continue to plummet for the rest of the month until the big day came, March 28th, 2024. The Snickerer would return to the Arkhamverse, and with him, a sizable numbers of players returning as well, over 2,000 coming back for the update, peaking at over 3,000 players. By the end of the week, we'd be back at triple digits. This update wouldn't do much in the grand scheme of things. You had a minor spike for about a week before everyone instantly left again. It received praise for the character's movement. His boosted umbrella was fun to use. The new clown-themed Elseworld was alright. But that was it. Everything else about the update was lambasted. More generic enemies to mow through. The same repetitive missions to grind through for hours on end, en route to 2 recycled boss fights from the main story, this time Superman, and in episode 2 Green Lantern instead of the Flash. Hours of grind for that, and to unlock the Chortler, as the Jester wasn't even available at the start of the update. You had to go through hours of grind just to unlock him, or you could get him automatically with the battle pass.
WB, are you seriously pulling this shit right now? This is the absolute worst time to. 95% of your player base is gone. This is the one chance you have to win them back, and this is what you do.
The update would bring the game back up to 3,000 players, but that's the last time they'd ever reach this metric, as again, it would drop below 1,000 just 6 days after the update, and that was that. That was it. Rocksteady and WB had to bring it with this season after all the outrage. They had to come out swinging, and they didn't. From this point on, there was no bringing the game back from the grave that they had dug themselves in. As for the rest of season 1, from April to July, the game averaged 100 to 500 fucking players. A AAA game that took a decade to develop, averaging less players than a single-player story-driven game from 2009 just months after launch is abhorrent. And WB agreed, as during this season, in May, they announced the $200 million loss they had taken on the game and seemingly gave up on it from this point forward. In June, moving many of Rocksteady's development team to work on the director's cut of Hogwarts Legacy, as Suicide Squad was left with a skeleton crew to complete the rest of their 4-season obligation. Continuing with season 2 on July 11th. until 2 days before launch, where they announced that they were delaying the season by 2 weeks to the 25th.
That is now 3 delays in this one game. Technically 4 if we count the secret one in the late 2010s when they thought the show would be out by 2020.
Announcing an ice-themed winter season. It was July of 2024.
Well, hey, it's winter in Australia.
Are you guys Australian?
No, we're British, but I'm sure some of our 300 players are from Australia, right, my fellow Aussies? Right, guys?
Yes.
But with the winter-themed season, ice-themed Elseworld, ice-themed everything, who would you expect to be the playable character, playable villain, playable ice-themed villain from DC's decades of lore? Who could possibly fit? I don't know, so many options. Captain Cold, if we want another Flash villain. He was an Injustice, I don't know. Or Killer Frost, if you want someone with actual powers. She has superpowers. She could pose somewhat of a threat to Brainiac and members of the League. We're pushing it, but not as much as Harley Quinn killing Superman. Or if you really want to win players back, bring in Sub-Zero. That fit the winter theme. He's powerful. He'd pose a threat. And if you think it's unrealistic, how many times has DC crossed over with Mortal Kombat? That would cause a huge influx of players. I promise. It would have been massive. Or if you just wanted to play it safe, Mr. Freeze, DC's most popular, most well-known, and frankly, best ice-themed villain. So many options. Who do they bring from all these existing and well-known IPs that could bring somewhat of an interest in the game?
Mrs. Freeze.
They created an Elseworld character no one's ever heard of named Mrs. fucking Freeze and gave her a Concord level hideous design.
And not even the real Mrs. Freeze, you know, Nora Fries, who exists in the comics, they made up one who was lamer.
The season's launch had a peak of 570 players. Same shit all over again. Same enemies, same missions, same grind, same boss battles with the same fucking Brainiac turning around animation they used last season, as this time he transforms into the Flash and Superman.
How did you do it?
I know.
You mean like the boss switches models and movesets mid-fight? How did you do it?
Crazy, right?
This game has gotten so fucking lazy that they expect us to hit the soy jack face at them taking 2 finished lines of code and merging them into one. 2 reskin bosses at once to unlock a lamer character, Mrs. Freeze, who's far more boring than the Chuckler, cause at least he was funny looking, at least he was a meme, at least he was so bad that it was good and his movement was actually fun. Mrs. Freeze's was good, but not as good as the Smilers, and the shit didn't do anywhere near enough to win players back. In fact, they lost players, dropping to a consistent 100 to 300 players, and for the first time ever on September 5th, dropping to double digits, less than 100 players. This $200 million AAA game, 7 months after launch, dropping to less than 100 players. Flash returned though, confirming the clone theory.
Oh, wow. I really used to get it winded. Hey, shouldn't you all be in jail?
That was actually the extent of his return. This is a major twist in the story and a pivotal plot moment thrown out for a 10-second hee-hee-ha-ha cutscene. They really needed a winner. They really needed a banger season, a banger of a character, something that would grab attention, and they had so many options from DC's lengthy history. If you wanted to stick to known members of the squad, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher, Peacemaker, the breakout member of the only good Suicide Squad thing that DC has done in the past decade. Get John Cena's scan in there. You did it in Mortal Kombat. You have the money. You own the IP. That would get people talking. Or if you can't do that, but need a big character that'll grab attention, because dog, you just dipped below 100 people. This isn't the time to fuck around. You need a character that'll grab attention, and you're already doing Elseworld shit. Do Batman Who Laughs. He has a massive following. That would get me and many others playing because of how fucking dope he is. Fucking Black Manta, Bizarro for fuck's sake, so I can at least feel like Superman flying around Metropolis instead of killing him, man. Someone, anyone other than fucking Lawless. You just dropped below 100 players. This isn't the time for this shit. Who is Lawless? Who are these people? Of anyone you could have added to grab the attention of players, win back players, you made up Mrs. Freeze and brought someone not one fucker has heard of. Why? My assumption is because the 12 people developing don't have the time or manpower to make all the shit that people actually want to see and would get attention, so they're stuck with what was already half finished by the team before they were moved to Hogwarts Legacy, and for some reason, this is the bullshit that was half finished. You had a decade to plan for anyone else as your post-launch characters, and this is who you choose. What the fuck were you smoking? But if that's the case, sure, it's a tough spot, but it's not impossible. Just finish fucking Deathstroke early and release him now instead of waiting until it's too late and the game's already been announced to shut down. We've been asking for him since day 1. He's been teased since day 0. That would grab attention. That would be the last thing that you could do to save the game. But no, DC Screwball, a fucking live streamer stopping crime and giving money to the poor. That has been fucking overdone to death. And my theory for the cause of this lame-ass character being due to a skeleton crew is seemingly confirmed, considering that the poor devs stuck finishing this dog shit don't even have the budget for actual cutscenes. The opening cutscene for her are still shot comic book images. This is so sad. Both the comic cutscene and the 40-year-olds at Rocksteady trying to be cool. No fucking streamer talks like this. No Twitch chat looks like that. That shit is borderline cyberbullying.
What do you mean bro's built like a 1x1 Lego piece? What even is a 1x1?
And it was the same shit again. I'm repeating myself, but so is the game. The same hordes of enemies, the same missions, the same boss fight, including the same Brainiac turning animation reused again. And I quote, "I hope you have adjusted your strategy as I have adjusted mine."
I hope you've adjusted your strategy as I have adjusted mine.
As he transforms into two people we have killed multiple fucking times now. You didn't adjust shit.
Clearly the strategy is not working. How about you adjust your strategy to an original fucking boss fight?
Defeating him and saving Lantern, who somehow got his ring and finger back, but more importantly, is somehow alive despite the bullet still very clearly lodged in his brain. And not only that, is somehow no longer corrupted despite still being corrupted. His eyes are still purple. Flashes weren't. How is he cognate? Bringing him back to the Hall of Justice to sleep in his pod where the bullet is now removed and his eyes are back to normal. Maybe they got the surgeon from Fallout New Vegas. And unlocking Lawless, who has the worst movement yet, but at least we get a poor man's version of God of War Ragnarok as she shows her frustrations at her dad for controlling her.
That is so like you to go right past me.
Can't be doing that, Floyd.
Dad, I'm 18.
Fucked up, Floyd.
This is my choice.
She's her own person.
You can't go making life-altering decisions like that. These fools.
Dad!
Sucks teeth. What the fuck does that mean? Sucks teeth. I've never seen that used so casually.
200 people came back for the season. 98% of your player base is gone. But WB had one more card to play to win players back and keep them by releasing the character that they all wanted. As in late November, after the player count had been less than 1,000 for like 80% of the year, WB would fix this just before the launch of Season 4 by giving the game a 95% discount just 10 months after launch. The $100 edition selling for $5 fucking dollars. That is the ultimate humiliation. But guess what? It actually worked. All they had to do was practically give it away for free, as it resulted in a peak of 2,500 players, beating the rest of the Arkham series and only losing tonight by 500.
You know it's bad when this is a metric to celebrate.
And they actually kept this momentum going with Season 4 as finally, after a year, 3 seasons worth of characters, the character we have been asking for since day 0, that was teased since before this was even a project, finally released. Deathstroke was coming to Suicide Squad. With Season 4, we finally had an all-around awesome fucking character, not a Temu version, not a made-up one, not one who's never been heard of, just an all-around dope-ass fucking character with one of the best designs I've seen for him. Genuinely, this is one of Deathstroke's greatest looks. Meanwhile, his movement is probably the worst in the game. How do you always fuck something up? But who cares? Deathstroke was here, and would you believe it, it only resulted in a loss of 1,000 players, as those 1,000 people who bought the game for $5 wanted their money back. But the remaining 1,500 stuck around to play as Deathstroke. They were actually keeping a quadruple number of players for over a week. We are so bad. And on the same day the season launched, WB announced that the game would be shutting down in January.
Nobody's buying it for 70. Maybe they'll buy it for 30. Know about it. 20. They have to buy it for 20. It's Suicide Squad. They have to buy it for 20. Nope. My $200 million. Just make it like $5. Give me some money. Give me something, for the love of God. 2,000 people bought it. 200,000? 2,000? Oh, and 1,000 of them. I think 1,000 of them just refunded it, but the other 1,000 kept it. We got like... Fuck it! Just end it! Just give it away! Give it on PlayStation Plus! Maybe they'll buy the skins. Just fucking finish it!
As since practically giving it away for free didn't work, the game would just genuinely go straight up free to play on January with PlayStation Plus 11 months after launch.
This just gets sadder and sadder, man.
And with the final season coming out 8 fucking seasons early, the game is rushing to its conclusion faster than the end of Game of Thrones. As it's revealed in Deathstroke's introduction cutscene, which is another comic book slideshow, that Deathstroke has been killing the 13 Brainiacs on his own off-screen, a multiversal Justice League level threat, someone that the entire Justice League together couldn't beat, is getting soloed by someone that Batman one-shotted in his previous game. There are now 3 people on this team that Batman has one-shotted, as he teams up with the rest of the one-shot guild to take on the final and true Brainiac, who doesn't even get a turning animation at all this time. Like, we're not even reusing animations anymore. We're just not putting animations in at all. But fuck the animations. What does the fight look like? What does the final fucking boss look like? After all of this, do we actually get an original Brainiac boss fight? We fight a Brainiac Flash clone. But it's different this time, I swear, it's different. It's not like the other 5 times we fought the Flash throughout the game. See, this time, Green Lantern is there to help us, as his figure sits in the center of the map shooting his shitty rockets, repeating the same 3 voice lines for the entire fight because they didn't have the budget to get Dan White to record more.
The crimes are numerous, Brainiac, but I will personally see that you are brought to justice. Retribution will be swift. And not just because I'm on a mission, Tyler. Crimes are numerous, Brainiac, but I will personally see that you are brought to justice. Retribution will be swift. And not just because I'm on a mission.
As Lantern finally wakes up from his pod to help the squad fight the last Brainiac, only to get fucking corrupted by him immediately after the Flash Brainiac is defeated. How? I don't fucking know, because it just happens without explanation. He goes from helping us, Flash peels over and dies, Lantern swoops in, now he's evil. What happened in those 4 seconds? Fuck if I know. Meaning now, we fight Green Lantern again for phase 2.
There is no fucking way the final boss is a boss gauntlet of everything else we've already fought 5 times over.
But it is, same moveset as the other 5 Lanterns that we fought, but this time with the Flash helping out. Flash arrived to help after Lantern. Green Lantern got to the arena faster than the Flash. Did he get fucking lost? But he's here now, right on time to help defeat Lantern, and what do you think happens next? It's not a trick question. You can guess it. Corrupted fucking Superman arrives, and now we have to fight Superman again for the 3rd phase. The same boss fight again. Flash at least sticks around to help. Where's Lantern? I don't fucking know. He's just not here for this phase. Maybe he's actually dead this time, or maybe stop questioning the story we cooked up 12 shots deep at a bar. But finally, as we finish up this phase, it is finally over. Brainiac, the true Brainiac, is all that's left as he exits his ship, and we don't even get to fucking fight him. We don't even get a cutscene of us fighting him. We don't get a cutscene of us defeating him. We go from the corrupted Superman boss fight, and without warning, straight to a comic book slideshow. The finale is a comic book slideshow. I am fucking losing my mind. Brainiac exits his ship to face the squad and the now freed Superman. That is until Batman, who was somehow cloned but not hypnotized like the rest of the squad, so we didn't have to fight and free him. He was just hiding somewhere on the ship that whole time, not helping us fight. How? I don't. Batman returns to punch Brainiac in the face, and that is the extent of the fight. Brainiac is defeated via Bat Punch. Batman cannot one-punch Brainiac. He had to explosive gel punch Titan Joker. He had to explosive gel punch Titan Joker to take him down. He can't one. How many members in this game's cast has Batman one-shotted now? 1, 2, 3, 4, Jesus. And after the Bat Punch, going on to say one of the most confusing lines I've ever heard in my life. And I quote, "The criminals did well following my plan."
Plan? There was a plan? This was the plan. You planned to walk onto Brainiac's ship like dumbasses, get captured and cloned, and then destroy half the city, killing thousands of people, including your sidekick. Good plan.
And that's the climax. Bat Punch. I'm not joking. The rest of the following action is covered in a 50-second exposition dump. The League free the citizens, cities, and Elseworlds from Brainiac's ship. Hack, Lawless, and Toyman all somehow deactivate the bombs in the squad's head. And Brainiac is warped to Waller for her to make shish kebabs with him. That's it.
Done. I swear I'm forgetting something. Maybe I'm just overthinking.
What happened with the League's reputation? Are they just welcome back with open arms in Metropolis? That city's in fucking ruins. Robin, he's just fucking dead? Bruce is just fine with that? What about the rest of the Bat family? Does Bruce give a shit about his doppelganger that just ran roughshod murdering everyone for however fucking long, including one of his sidekicks?
Don't you love a happy ending?
Not when it's shit!
Thank God this is over. Dog shit repetitive gameplay, a soulless cash grab with skins and battle passes up the ass, and a fucking insulting story that insults the 10 years worth of investments we put into this universe. This might be one of the worst games I've ever experienced. I feel confident to say that this is the worst live service game ever made. No joke, it is abysmal. This wasn't meant to be a review, but off the main story I beat and the post-launch content I've seen, this is a 3 out of 10, the lowest I've ever given any game. This is horrendous, and I hope to God Rocksteady never does anything like this, and it looks like they seemingly have taken a hint and are working on a new solo Arkham game. I don't have much faith in it, I won't lie, but it has to be better than this, has to. I don't think it'll be as good as the originals, but I don't see a world where it is worse than this utter garbage, whether it's a prequel to Asylum, or a sequel to Night, or a sequel to this catastrophe, or just pretending that suicide doesn't exist. Honestly, retcon it. I'd be fine with that, but no matter what they choose, it has to be better than this. But if this fucking trash, if this fucking dog shit sorry excuse of a game dragging the Arkhamverse through the mud causes the new Arkham game to be a fucking reboot, rendering all the amazing games we've had obsolete and making this the conclusion to it, I will fucking lose my shit.
Yo, did you hear? Insomniac just announced a new game. It's called Thunderbolts, Kill the Avengers. You play as Taskmaster, Killmonger, Loki, and Screwball to stop the Avengers because they got hypnotized by Ultron. I don't know, Captain America for some reason thought it'd be a good idea and tried to negotiate with them, so they all gear up to shoot them to death. It looks fucking dope. Loki uses an AK to kill Thor. Isn't that sick? Screwball streams herself shooting Insomniac Spider-Man in the head. It kind of sucks that they killed Miles off screen, but in the end, they kill Ultron's first form and have to take out 12 more of his duplicates in later seasons. They're adding Green Goblin in the first season. Isn't that...